Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Expert Speaker Summit. We have special guest expert Fiona Eckersley. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Lovely to be here.
Fiona is an expert in reinvention after divorce, author of a book called Fearful to Fabulous, and author of the forthcoming book, tentatively titled Dating After Divorce. And today's conversation is going to be in the context of our world changing due to coronavirus and how can we reinvent ourselves and our identity and create a bright future despite so much fear, chaos, stress, uncertainty. Welcome, 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 Fiona. Can you give us the backstory on how you became an expert in reinventing yourself in the case of your first book, After Divorce? Can you tell us the story?
I certainly can. I kind of reinvented myself a few times, actually, but we'll go with the one after divorce because that's the most relevant. Yeah, I was a stay-at-home mother, used to be a teacher, but stay-at-home mother, 4 children, ages 15 down through 8 at the time. I'd been with my ex-husband 22 years. 17 of those we were married. I'd moved to live in this country. So his family were my family. And thinking that I had this great life laid out in front of me and I knew where I was going and everything was hunky-dory, right? Until one day when he walked in and announced to me that he had to tell me something. And I said, oh, yeah, what is it? And he goes, well, I don't love you anymore and I'm filing for divorce. And that was kind of, that was sort of an interesting moment. And that really led to a lot of issues for me, obviously going forward, because I was not expecting that. And kind of left me in a place where I didn't really know who I was anymore. Eventually I got to the point where I didn't even like the person I was anymore. And I had to really step out of that place, reach out of my comfort zone, ask for help, and learned so many amazing things that I completely changed everything. I changed the way I spoke to myself, which was the most important thing. I changed my views. I changed a lot of my opinions about other people. And it really made a huge difference in my life.
And, I can see some parallels already to, people getting news that their whole life is changing in this coronavirus world that we're in right now. And so what were some of the stages that you went through? I know there's some parallels people are drawing between grief, there's the denial and the anger and acceptance and the moving on and all that. What were some of the stages that you experienced, and what do you see as sort of the common stages that people experience through a situation like that?
Yeah, denial was definitely the first one. We'll fix this. This will be fine.
Right.
And then, yeah, I'm sure he doesn't mean it. That couldn't possibly be right. So there was a lot of that. Grief. The grief is not just for the loss of your marriage or the loss of your family. It's the loss of who you think you are in your future, right? Because everything is really changed now. And there's a lot of, this is not how it's supposed to be. And so because you thought that you knew what was going to go on, all of a sudden the future that's coming is very scary. And that's exactly what's happening to people right now. They think this is not where we're supposed to be. I actually wrote a blog the other day and it was like, where are we supposed to be? I was supposed to be on a flight back from England. My kids, 2 of them were supposed to be at college. My son was supposed to be starting his shift as a waiter. My daughter was supposed to be working in New York. None of those things were happening. We were all sitting in 4 different separate places. Mm-hmm. And nobody knew what was going to happen next. So there's that. There's also, along with divorce, very often is a sense of severe isolation and loneliness. Because you lose friends, sometimes family members, and you just feel like nobody else really understands what's going on with you. So there's that feeling of isolation too. But I think the biggest thing that happens to a lot of people after divorce is anger.
There you go.
That's the final thing. You get to that angry stage and you're like, why is this happening to me? Almost sometimes a victimhood.
Yeah.
Like somebody is doing this to me, which kind of it is, and kind of that is what's happening now. But the problem is, if you sit in that place, in that victimhood and that anger, that is not going to be able to move you forward. That is a very negative space to be in, and it's hard to get out of it. But
Fiona, this might be a silly question, but is there an appropriate period of time where one can wallow in their self-pity and victimhood before it's like, all right, time to move forward? Or is there a way to tell, like, first, let me ask you this. Should people skip that stage, or is that a necessary step of having their pity party, or is it healthy?
I guess not everybody has it, but I think it's healthy. I don't think you should, when people say like, oh, you should get over it, or it's been long enough now, he left you should get over it. Like, somebody else telling you that is not going to help. In fact, it just makes it worse, because then you feel even worse about yourself. Like there's something wrong with you, right?
And how about,
so I think it depends, as I was going to say, on the individual, but at a certain point, you have to try and get out of that. You cannot sit in there for years, as some women I've worked with have.
And there may be a cautionary tale. Perhaps you can think of an example of someone who's maybe still stuck there.
Yeah, I actually know a couple of people who are still stuck there. The problem is that every relationship that you have and every new thing that you try to do, including getting a job, or, there's a woman I know, socially, she still has that victim. I mean, 8 years, I think it is, since she got divorced. She still has that victimhood thing. It's like she can't keep a relationship because she keeps going back to the same relationship she was in before, because she hasn't figured out what the problem was. And when I see her, I saw her obviously before this. We were out for a drink at some point, and she said, you know what, he's out there, he's with his girlfriend, they live in this great house, they go on these great vacations, and it's just not fair. It's not fair, and that's her like whole victimhood attitude. And the problem is, it's stopping her from going for the job that she wants, or it's stopping her from understanding how she can have a different type of relationship. That's the issue with living in the anger, and it makes you a very bitter person. And honestly, people, after a while, they lose their sympathy. We're all human, right? People stop wanting to help you when all you can do is talk about your ex-husband or your ex situation and all the bad things that have happened to you.
Talk to me more about the sympathy-seeking behaviors of the victim, where they want to tell their sob story, and they're getting that sympathy. Is that like, it's kind of meeting their needs on some level?
It does at first. And the problem is, again, it doesn't help you, because it just reinforces your view that, yes, this is not your fault, this was done to you. And maybe it wasn't your fault, and maybe it was done to you. But the more that you sit in that place, like I said, the more it affects every aspect of your life. Even, it's so funny, I'm writing about this now in my new book, the communication. If you want to start in your relationship and the both of you are basing your communication on looking at the baggage that's left over from your ex, he moans about his ex, you moan about your ex, like, that's a way to bond at first, but all that's going to do in the end is ruin your own relationship. Oof. Because you will find that person has all the things wrong that your ex had as well. It's just going to, naturally, it's just going to happen.
Okay, this leads me to my next question, which are, what are the most common mistakes that you see people doing in the process of creating a new life after divorce?
Common mistakes are trying to dive right into listening to other people's judgment. Like, you should be part of a couple now. You need to get over it. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't listen to what other people have to say. You have to try and get to that good place on your own. So diving right back into another relationship is often a huge mistake. Believing that somebody else, that the other person, that you need closure, that's a big one. If he just tell me why he did that, I just need to understand what happened. I just need him to explain to me. Here's the thing. They don't know themselves, right? We all have our own problems and our own issues, and everybody is in their own little box. So the fact is, your ex, probably whatever you think he did to you, he probably has no idea why he did it. All right. So you need to understand for yourself that you're not going to be able to get that information. And that's okay. It's okay, because you know what? It's not going to make a difference. Instead, you need to focus on what you're going to do now and what you're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
Because if you're always looking back, it's impossible to enjoy the life that you have right now. And I was going to say something else now. I forgot what I was going to say. So there's the looking back thing. And also when people look at back, suddenly they think that their life was completely fairy tale in their marriage, and they kind of forget all the other things that were wrong. That makes it impossible to move on too. So really just letting it go. Forgiveness. It sounds so corny, but forgiveness is the best thing that you can do. And not just forgive the other person, you've got to forgive yourself too. Because you might think you're angry at somebody else, but the truth is you're angry at yourself for, in your mind, putting up with it, allowing yourself to be treated that way, or not recognizing that there was a problem, or thinking that you could have fixed it. You couldn't. It is what it is. It's done. You got to let it go, and you've got to forgive everybody, and you have to move on.
So walk me through the experience of working with you as you coach, let's say a newly divorced person or someone maybe I'm imagining you could probably help a lot of people right now through reinventing themselves as their whole world is changing from this coronavirus. Can you kind of take me through that process or those steps that you would take a client through?
Yeah, because the stress and anxiety now that people are feeling from this isolation, it's very similar. Like this, I know everybody else is out there and they're having the same thing, but knowing everybody else is going through the same thing doesn't really help you, to be honest. It's like, oh, so we're all going through it, but I still hurt, right? So I think that the main thing that you have to focus on is, instead of looking at where you're supposed to be, I was supposed to be at work. I was supposed to get this promotion. I was supposed to be on vacation. You can't do that. You look at what's going on right now, okay? And look around you. And instead of seeing it as the end of something or a horrible screeching halt to your life, look around and see what is the good in what's happening right now, which sounds crazy, but there is good in what's happening right now. There are good things going on around you. Maybe you connect with people that you hadn't connected with. Maybe you're suddenly able to help people that you couldn't help before. This is a time for you to now maybe spend time doing good things for yourself. Learning meditation techniques, which are incredibly helpful to lower that stress and anxiety. Getting some exercise, same thing, going to change your health-wise. Maybe it's a time to figure out, we've all been put into these, not all, I've managed to break out of mine, but a lot of us are on these pathways that were basically set, right? You're going to do this, you're going to get a job here, you're going to be married to this person. Maybe now this has made a halt to that. So look around and say, okay, it's an interruption. So it's the end of one thing, but what can that be my new beginning? What are my passions? Think to yourself, when I was a kid, what really lit me up? What did I really love to do? Or write a list of things that when you start to do them, you lose yourself in that moment. And those are the things that you're passionate about. And now you've got that list. How can you use that in your life going forward to make your life, when this ends, because it will end eventually, the plague ended, right? When this ends, how can you use those things going forward to make your life better than it ever was before? That's one way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So getting in touch with what you're really passionate about, creating that new future for yourself. Now, give me some, if you would, please, some really tactical, usable right now to the person who is wandering around their house, head is spinning, freaking out, and they're looking inside the refrigerator 17 times a day. Not that I know what that's like, but
that was a big after divorce thing for me.
Right. So
yeah,
they're really disoriented. What can they do right now to just get a handle of things?
Really big one is if you, it's like basic, schedule out your day. Don't get up in the morning going, what should I do today? And flip on the Netflix or watch, I found that I even slipped into it myself a couple of weeks ago. It's like suddenly you get up in the morning and suddenly it's 10 o'clock at night and you've watched a blur CNN, Netflix and the cookies and whatever, right? So when you get up in the morning, you need a plan. And the way to have that is to do it the day before. Make a schedule for yourself. Block out times of your day. Yes, you can put time in there for watching TV, but put in time in there to write in your journal. This is a great time. Like I said, self-reflection can really be useful. One of the things I do when I wake up in the morning is I honestly, before I open my eyes and do all the other stuff that I probably shouldn't do, like read the news, is I think about 3 to 5 things that I'm really grateful for in my life. And there are things, and it doesn't have to be like I have a great job, I have a wonderful house, I've got a great relation. It could be simple, like, I have an elderly dog, and honestly, it used to be like, oh, thank God Jackson didn't pee on the floor today. Right? Like it could be anything.
Right.
So there's something you're grateful for. So think of that. That's the first thing to do. And then make your block of time. Put time in there for meditation. And it doesn't have to be a 20-minute, I'm on Deepak Chopra level. It could be listening to something on YouTube, some kind of guided meditation on something just to clear your mind, bring yourself down. Get some exercise in, even if it's only 5 minutes. Get out there, look at the sky. Right? Make the effort to do something every day that's going to make you smile. Watch a silly movie, dance around the kitchen. I know these are all silly things that I do. Dance around the kitchen with your dogs, listening to, Alexa's music playing. Even just the act of turning your mouth up and like smiling will actually make a difference. Once your face goes into that level, your brain believes that you're doing it. So, make an effort to smile every day. Do something silly. Read a cartoon. But schedule out your day so you fit in all these things that you need to do. Have some time for work. Have some time for play. And that way, when you get to the end of your day, you're not like, what happened? Okay?
Excellent.
And also, I was going to say, do not sit around in your pajamas all day.
Ooh, good one.
Make an effort, put on some clothes. If you're a woman and you usually wear makeup, put on your makeup. You're not doing it for other people anyway. You're doing it for yourself.
Schedule your time. Take time to meditate, even if it's only a few minutes watching a YouTube video. Right. Do the things that make you feel good. Dress in a way that makes you feel good, not necessarily, pajamas. And then there was one more.
Gratitude.
The gratitude practice. Brilliant. Would you tell me the story about the sweatpants that you asked your client to?
Yeah. I had this lovely lady, and she was telling me this story about how she would walk her dog in these sweatpants. And she literally told me she had them from when she was in 8th grade gym class. This was a 50-something-year-old lady. And she said she'd throw these sweatpants on and she just walked the dog, but she'd always have to dodge people when they were coming because she was so embarrassed about what she's wearing.
Right.
And I said, so why are you wearing them? Well, it's easier and it doesn't really matter. We went through the whole, like, it doesn't matter what I look like. Nobody cares. We went through that whole thing. And I said, well, you know what? Clearly you do care, because if you're embarrassed for somebody to see you, you probably shouldn't be wearing them. And I asked her to get rid of them. And so the next week when I called her, she's like, she admitted she hadn't got rid of them. So I said to her, all right, I want you to go get them right now and a pair of scissors. And whilst I was on the call with her, I had her chop them into little pieces and throw them in the garbage so that she could never again wear those clothes. And then we talked about the fact that she went through a closet and she went through clothes that she really liked to wear. And the next call, she was telling me the difference in the way that it made her feel when she was dressed in those clothes as opposed to what she'd been wearing before. The way that it made her feel about herself, the way it made her present herself to other people, just the confidence when she was even at the grocery store. Not that we can all go there these days, but when she's on a Zoom call, if you're on a Zoom call with your friends, it makes a huge difference to the way you feel about yourself, because that way you're putting an effort into how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Which is way more important to the way other people feel than the way other people feel about you.
Cool. Yeah. I'm familiar with the powerful effects that clothes have on you. And I know those days in the pajamas are not as productive, or I don't feel as like on my game as when I'm dressed well.
Yeah. You just don't feel professional or ready to take on the day.
So we have a few more minutes before we're going to wrap up, Fiona. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, or if you're watching on the Expert Speaker Summit, please take a moment and go check out Fiona's. What's the best website for us to learn more about you, Fiona?
Findfabulouswithfiona.com.
Find
Fabulous
Fabulous
with
with
Fiona.
Fiona, Fiona
.com.
.com. And I believe you're going to give away a free copy of your book. Is that true?
Yes, I am. It's just go to fearfultofabulousbook.com. So it's
There we go.
fearfultofabulousbook.com, and actually it's on my website too. But if you go there, you can get a free copy.
Fearfultofabulousbook.com. I've read it. I recommend it. It's lovely. Your next book is going to be about dating after divorce. Can you tell us what that's going to be all about?
Okay. Yes, I can, because I just went through that. So basically we're going to look at different sections. You know, why do you want to date after divorce is one of them. If you do decide you want to, where are you going to meet these people? Once you're on there, what do you do to present yourself in the best way? Communicating with matches when you get them. What else? Let's see. Communicating matches. What are your expectations? Right? Once you decide you want a divorce, what are you actually expecting? What do you want from that for dating? And really a big one is, now that you've decided and you've figured all that out, who is it that you want to be going forward into this new life and this new relationship?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a great resource. And prediction. Coronavirus. Do you think it's going to create a spike in divorces?
I actually do, and not because I'm an expert in the lawyer part of it, but I've been reading a lot about it, and it seems like the lawyers that I follow are already getting a lot of calls. And I know that mine actually came, I don't know if this had much to do with it, but I think it played a part. Mine came right as the big financial thing hit last time.
Right.
And my ex is a financial planner, and I think it had something to do with it. I think there was a lot of stress involved, and when people are stressed out, especially about money, it causes a lot of problems.
True.
They look for other ways to change their lives.
True.
So, yeah, and if you're not happy with something, you're going to change it. Yeah.
All right. So we now have your book, we have your website, and if someone wanted to book a time with you to talk about their situation, can they schedule a call with you?
They certainly can. I offer a free 45-minute call to talk about, and these days you don't have to be divorced. The stress, the isolation, the anxiety, they're all the same things that we use to move forward, right? To get through this. So if they go to call Fab Fiona, CALLFABFIONA, call fabfiona.as.me. callfabfiona.as.me, and that will put them on my schedule, and I can, we can chat and see what's going on with them, and if I can help them in any way.
Brilliant. Fiona, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm excited to see your next book come out, Dating After Divorce. And what a time we live in, where we have to go from fearful to fabulous. We have to create our new future. And you've given us some really good tips that we can use right now, whether we are going through a divorce or not, to get our fabulous on. So thank you so much, fabulous Fiona Eckersley. And is there one more thing you'd love to tell people?
Yeah, I would. You know what? This too shall pass, right? Don't worry. The fear the future. The future's always going to be wonderful. You just have to believe it's going to be wonderful, and just, you know what? It's a rotten time right now, but look for the good in your life, because there is good in your life.
Wise words. Thank you so much, Fiona.